All right, welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. Time for some Wednesday wisdom. Wisdom, the lost wisdom of the Pharaohs, ladies and gentlemen, the Hermetica. And we are reading from the Hermetica, and we have been learning more about the ancient Hermetic, ancient Egyptian, lost, esoteric, hidden wisdom of the Pharaohs, ladies and gentlemen. And last week, we went through an understanding of God, or the chapter titled The Being of Atum. And in that chapter, Hermes attempted to describe God, Atum. Although God cannot be defined with words, we are reminded, Hermes gives us some clues to contemplate. And that was a very powerful, fascinating verse that goes along with many of the videos I do here on this channel describing the nature of God, or the source, or force, or universal energy, universal intelligence, whatever you would give the name for God of. But we are reminded once again that God cannot be named because he is all the things with names. See, I even made a mistake there. It, ladies and gentlemen, I guess it takes on both principles, the masculine and the feminine. But that is a different subject. And so the week before that, we did the initiation of Hermes and his vision of creation. And so now today, we get into the section entitled Contemplate Creation. In this chapter, Hermes teaches us how to see God by contemplating his creation. Now, see, it uses the term his or him here a lot, but don't get too stuck on those kind of things, because to me, it is more of a force and an essence rather than a masculine entity somewhere that we are separate from. And this has been described a ton in the last episode. So if you missed that, be sure to go check it out. It's very fascinating. Talking about how Atum, or God, makes all things. Just as the eye cannot see the being of Atum, so it cannot see these great ideas. They are attributes of Atum alone. These are the words of Hermes here from last week, and are inseparable from him. They are so perfectly without blemish that Atum himself is in love with them. This is fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. And so let's dive right into our lesson and our wisdom today, because we are seeking to increase the quality of our lives by understanding great wisdom that has been passed down to us through the ages and increasing our awareness or our understanding of reality, and so that we can increase the quality of our experience. So it begins by saying, in this chapter, Hermes teaches us how to see God by contemplating his creation. And once again, we are reading from the Hermetica, The Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs. It's a Timothy Freke and Peter Gandy authored book, and it is a Tarsher Cornerstone edition. And so, for purposes of teaching and commentary and extrapolation and expanding the mind, let's dive into this, ladies and gentlemen. It begins by saying, quote, "When we look at the world only with our physical eyes, God is nowhere to be seen. But if we look with our thoughts, we see with spiritual understanding. Suddenly, God is everywhere. In this ecstatic state, everything we see and touch is known to be part of God. And we understand that God's whole purpose in creating the world was so that through it, we could see him, or we could see it." Normally, I'll extrapolate a whole bunch and ramble and paraphrase, but I'm going to leave that because that was powerful, ladies and gentlemen. I'll read through that again really quickly because that was powerful. When we look at the world only with our physical eyes, God, this force, source, the Tao, is nowhere to be seen. But if we look with our thoughts in a spiritual intention, we see with spiritual understanding. Suddenly God is everywhere. In this ecstatic state, we see everything we see or touch is known to be part of God, and we understand that God's whole purpose in creating the world was so that through it, we could come to know him or it. So this is a powerful understanding. The whole purpose of creating the world for God, and this is, we've all got our opinions on these, and this is why we're here contemplating this, because if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, I will remind you, the first lesson from Hermes was that pure philosophy, this pure spiritual philosophy that we are trying to get, is spiritual striving through the act of constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of what is described here as Atum, the one God. And so with that in mind, the purpose of creating the world was so that through it, we could see Atum, the force, the Tao, God, Great Spirit, grand organized design. The cosmos is his body, and we can come to know it by contemplating its extraordinary order and beauty. So that makes me think of astrology, ladies and gentlemen. The cosmos is the body of God, or the source. And we can come to know the source, Atum, God, by contemplating the extraordinary order and beauty of the cosmos. Hermes, by contemplating its extraordinary order and beauty, asks us to consider the constant revolutions of the stars in the night sky, the laws of fate, which he calls necessity, the goodness of everything that has happened and is happening. This is very deep. I hope you're getting value out of this. Could this all be so perfect without a supreme mind? Remember talking about the mind of God and our correlation, our micro to the macro of the mind of God, that we have an opportunity through our own minds to experience this supreme mind, which maintains such exquisite order. Could it all just be happening accidentally? Is the question that a lot of people, would ask and debate this with. Let's see what the T here has to say. It says balance of head and heart yields strength of character. Interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got yourself a nice hot tea or coffee or cool beverage. Whatever it is you enjoy the most. I hope you got yourself a comfy position, because here in a moment, we're going to be diving into the words of Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth, Tahat, the Ibis god from Egypt, many, many centuries ago, telling us about what we are just discussing, this idea of being able to see God in reality, in life, and the importance of it. Could all of this just be happening accidentally? Well, that is what debaters would say. The book continues here, quote, he reminds us of the marvel of our own birth. Who created us in the womb? Who perfectly crafted the individual details of our bodies? And remember, we learned yesterday on our Tuesday Tao, living the wisdom of the Tao and changing our thoughts and changing our life. If you've missed those, please go check out the other series on my channel that we do every Tuesday, just like this every Wednesday. And so the lesson we got yesterday was just that we are all perfectly unique and that you are a treasure. There is no one else, even if you believe we have 57,000 lifetimes, which that may be a high random number. I just made that up. But even if you believe we have so many lifetimes, this particular one and you at this moment are the only one like you, and there is no one else that is exactly the same. And so therefore, each one of us individually is a marvel. Because that's such an important thing to get, that goes right along with what we're discussing here in this ancient Egyptian Hermetic, esoteric wisdom, mystery, spiritual wisdom, philosophy. That's a good mix of words there. Let's read here what the marvelous words from Pablo Casales expressed the thought that we were just discussing. And this is coming from Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And so, by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Pablo Casales says, when will we teach our children who and what they are? When should we say to them, do you know who and what you are? You are a marvel, ladies and gentlemen. You are unique. In all the years that have passed, there has never been another child like you, another person like you. In all the years that have passed, your legs, your arms, your cunning fingers, and the way that you move, there has never been another like you. You may become a Shakespeare, a Michelangelo, a Beethoven. You have the capacity for anything. Yes, you are a marvel, a miracle, I'll add. And when you grow up, can you then harm another who is like you? A marvel? Can you then harm another who is like you? A marvel. And can you then not look at another that would seem to be so different from you, but is also like you? A marvel, ladies and gentlemen. And can we not look at life and creation and reality in this way that is so unique? As it just said here, could this all be so perfect without a supreme mind or a force which maintains such exquisite order? Could it all just be happening accidentally? And so he reminds us, as we were just discussing, the marvel who we are and our own birth. Who created us? Who perfectly crafted the individual details of each of our bodies, despite, I'll add, what our own perspectives on that are, because so many of us are taught here in society nowadays to really judge ourselves and be full of self-repudiation and self-loathing, all of these completely erroneous characteristics that have been drilled into our psyche by society. I think in order to keep us from missing the mark, or to keep us from aligning with force or doubt, to keep us missing the mark is what I meant to say, to keep us from getting on track, really. But surely such a work, the book continues, so statues and portraits don't just happen, they are sculpted and painted, ladies and gentlemen. And I personally don't take all the credit for my paintings. That's a new one back there. It just comes through me, with me just kind of playing around with some colors and some brushes and things, and an understanding of a process. And so before we get into the words of Hermes Trismegistus, talking of Atum, the modern view is that we are a creation of the laws of nature. Hermes would not disagree with this. He would simply ask, who decreed these laws? And what laws of nature are you actually talking about? Because they may not be, I'm adding this little bit after who decreed these laws, but they may not be the laws that are the correct ones in order to explain how we are a creation of the elements of nature and the principles. Who decreed these laws? Hermes would ask. The book continues, he is trying to return us to a childlike sense of awe in the face of the wonders of life. Which, remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is the purpose of life. To be able to notice that you are a part of creation. I mean, I know that's a bold statement. Oh, this guy thinks he knows the purpose of life. I'm like, well, I'm just keeping it simple here. I mean, you could answer that question a billion different ways, and I honestly believe that we are the, I guess you could call it the computer, but we are the process that is actually trying to find the ultimate question, not the answer. But back to what I was saying, that's just a funny reference. If you know what I'm referencing there, leave it in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. We are the process trying to find the ultimate question rather than the ultimate answer. But the purpose of life. So if you want a simple, easy way that you can have a good, solid, positive focus and direction in life that will help you be more positive. The purpose of life is to see that you are part of creation and God, and that all that we see is God, and then to find the beauty in that, like this has just been describing. This childlike sense of awe in the face of the wonders of what we get to experience here in this temporary human experience as a spiritual being. And then to understand that it is a miracle and not take it for granted, and to enjoy that, to truly experience the beauty and the awe that there is, and focus on that and grow it and tend to it and help spread it. I mean, that's a simple purpose there, if you ask me. But the book continues. The modern view is that we are a creation of the laws of nature. So Hermes asks, he would not disagree. This is where science and spirituality end up saying the same thing anyway. And you find out that all philosophies from different areas are describing the same thing that we are always describing here on this channel. The force, the Tao, this life force, this life essence, this energy that is always been known, or is known most commonly, as God. And so if we want to begin to create a higher quality of life in our own lives, and not just in our own lives, but the lives of those around us, with a greater awareness and enlightenment, a greater understanding of the nature of reality that we find ourselves in, and the possibilities that are open to us, which some would call fantastical and magical, but we know that these are very real and accessible to us through a greater awareness. So, modern view, okay, he's trying to return us to this childlike sense of awe in the face of the wonders of life. The world is a miracle, yet we take it for granted, ladies and gentlemen. So often, I'll add, we're searching for the negative, and you will find what it is you look for in this realm of pure creation. And so be careful what you look for. If we take the time to reflect, the book continues, it becomes obvious that we are surrounded by profound mysteries. The universe is a gigantic work of art, signed by an unknown master. Humble amazement is a prerequisite for coming to know God. Coming to know God, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what we're diving into here today. I could make it a short, sweet little video and end it right there. But what would this be, this teaching, this lesson of the wisdom of the Pharaohs and Thoth and Atum, without the words of Hermes Trismegistus? So we dive into this section titled Contemplate creation. I think I would title it The Meaning of Life and How to Come to Know God. Ask Atum, it begins. So Hermes begins by saying, ask Atum to flash a ray of his illumination into your awareness, giving you the power to grasp in thought his sublime being. For the invisible may only be seen with thoughts, which are themselves invisible. If you can't see thoughts, do you expect to see Atum? Look with your mind, however, and he will appear to you, manifesting himself without reservation throughout the whole universe, so that you may see his image with your eyes and hold it with your two hands. Do you think that Atum is invisible? Don't say that. Nothing is more visible than Atum. He created all things so that through them you could see him. This is Atum's great heart, that he manifests himself in everything. Everything can be known, including the insubstantial. Just as mind is known through thoughts, so Atum is known through his creation. Atum is the all-encompassing author of entirety, weaving everything into the fabric of reality. Because creation is visible, we can see the Creator. And this is the purpose of his creation. Since he is always creating, he can always be seen. So we should think and marvel and realize that we are blessed with knowledge of our Father. To know Atum's being, contemplate him in thought. To see him with your eyes, look at the exquisite order of the cosmos, the necessity which governs everything you perceive, the goodness of all that has been and that is coming to be. Look at matter filled full with life, and see Atum pulsating with all he contains. Contemplate the cosmos and his ancient body as his ancient body, which is ever prime and new. See the planets circling in eternal time. See the spiritual fire of the heavens turned to light by the sun, and shed as goodness upon the world. See the ever-changing moon which governs birth, growth, and decay. See the constellation of the Bear, which never rises or sets, but stays ever a fixed point, an axle around which the circle of the zodiac revolves. See the comets, which are called prophet stars. For when some future fate awaits the world, they emerge for a few days from their invisible home below the circle of the sun. Who is it that maintains such exquisite order? The sun is the greatest god in the heavens, a king to whom all others pay homage. Yes, this mighty god humbly submits to have smaller stars circle above him. Who is it that he obeys with awe? Each star travels its appointed range of space. Why don't all stars run the same course? Who is it who has assigned to each its place? The Bear revolves around herself and carries around with her the whole cosmos. Who is it that appointed her this task? Who is it that fixed the earth and confined the sea within its shores? Someone must be the maker and master of all this. It couldn't just happen. All order must be created. It is only that which is out of measure, which is accidental. Yet even disorder is subject to the master, who has yet to impose order upon it. If only it were possible to grow wings and soar into the air, poised between heaven and earth, you would see the solid ground, the flowing rivers, the wandering air, the penetrating fire, the circling stars, and the encompassing heavens. What joy to see all this, borne along by the one impulse, to perceive the unmoved mover, moving in all that moves, he who is hidden, manifest through all his works. Consider for a moment how you were created in the womb. Think of that skillful workmanship, and look for the craftsman who made such a beautiful God-like image, who traced the circles of your eyes, who pierced your nostrils, ears, and mouth, who stretched your sinews and tied them fast, who built your bones and wrapped your flesh with skin, who separated your fingers and flattened your feet, who shaped your heart and hollowed your lungs, who made your beauty visible and concealed your guts within. How many crafts have been employed and how many works of art created to form one human being? Statues or portraits don't just happen without a sculptor or painter. Has such a sublime work no creator? Hermes asks. And that finishes a powerful and illuminating, inspiring section from Hermes Trismegistus' Thoth, entitled, in this translation, and that was translation, it's good to keep that in mind, Contemplate Creation, and how we can see God by doing just that. Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, wow, wow. That was a boom to knowledge. That was a boom to wisdom, the lost wisdom of the Pharaohs. So before we end today, let's do some rambling and some extrapolation on what I'm getting from all of this that is being said. But if you're getting value, which I know you are, because this has been great, this entire series, consider subscribing. It really helps. Smash the like button. That'll help the algorithm get this to more people that are like-minded, so that way this can help more people in the world come to know God for themselves. And, you know, it is unique for each one of us, so that don't think that because we're looking at ancient Egyptian Hermetic works that this is not for you, because that doesn't seem to resonate with you. We're talking about pure philosophy and spiritual striving, which is exactly what Hermes said. And that, ladies and gentlemen, to come to know true knowledge of the force of God is through constant contemplation. And so let us continue contemplating this section. Oh, I almost went into the next section, ladies and gentlemen. And so it begins with him saying to us to ask Atum to flash a ray of his illumination into our awareness. So it's kind of what we've been doing the whole time, except have we ever done that outright? Ask God, give me an illumination. You know, I think we would have to, I was thinking while I said that, you know, I kind of got to be ready at the right time to receive this kind of illumination. I mean, if it's coming directly from source, like it said in one of the previous sections, it's like a frickin' fire hydrant, a plunging torrent of water whose swiftness outstrips any man who strives to follow it. But leaves behind not only the hearer, but even the teacher himself. And so, once again, give me your whole awareness, is Atum asking us to concentrate our thoughts. And this begins the same way. We're asking Atum to flash a ray of illumination into our awareness, giving the power to grasp it in thought. So there's always this unification of awareness, or like a meditative silent state that goes back to the first section. He was in a state of alert awareness in thought. And so we're asking Atum that we can grasp him in thought through awareness, the being, that we may see it, may only be seen, for the invisible, he says then, may only be seen with thoughts. So that's another important lesson there. That which is mystical or non-physical yet, spiritual, in the Akasha realm still, or the causal principle, maybe. I'm still working out all that. That's a lot to study. So, I'm no master on this, disclaimer. We are just here studying together, ladies and gentlemen, learning on this journey of philosophy. And so, for the invisible may only be seen with thoughts. So the spiritual realm you connect to through your thoughts, through your mind. And the power of mind is remember, the mind of God. That is one of our great powers. And thoughts which themselves are invisible. So he reminds us, you can only see that which is like the other, maybe. I mean, this is all debatable, but it's fascinating. He says, if you can't see thoughts, do you expect to see Atum? Like, well, you would go, no, I guess not. But he says, do not say that. After asking, do you think Atum is invisible? No. He says, you have to look with your mind, and it will appear to you, the Tao, the force, God, source, life essence. So if you look with your mind, with your thoughts, with your contemplation, in an attempt to see harmony and nature and the way and whatever it is, this thing that when nameless, it is the eternal. And when named, it is the father or the mother or the creator of all the things. That is kind of a Tao reference or translation to that thought. And thought and thought. I love how thought is always coming up here, because it is mind and thoughts and the power of contemplation that is the real key activator to all of this. And so look with your mind, and it will appear to you. It says he, but I'm always thinking it, the force. Manifesting without reservation. So you begin to see it everywhere once it pops up. It could be overwhelming to some people. Throughout the whole universe, it says, so that you may see his image with your eyes and hold it with your two hands. See, this book or these flowers or whatever it be out here that is in the physical world, that is a creation of the invisible world from Atum or source or God, that is his very being, we can then experience that which is invisible through the visible. So then it asks us, do you think Atum is invisible? Do not say that. And there's an exclamation point, which is interesting. Nothing is more visible than God. It is everywhere, I'll add. He created all things so that through them you could see him. This is Atum's great heart. And I think he was saying there, like, this is his great gift to us. That it manifests itself in everything. Everything can be known, including the insubstantial. Just as mind is known through thoughts, so Atum is known through creation. So we know that mind exists through thoughts, and we can know that then God exists through our ability to contemplate the mind of God. If that's debatable to you, then that's fine. I'm telling you, this is all open for discussion. So if you have a difference in opinion, contemplate it. And then try to relate it to more ancient wisdom of the ages. But as we know, we're going into a new age. So maybe there will be new wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. But for now, I like to reference the classics. So simply, Atum is known through, it says his creation, so it's creation. I keep looking at these flowers over here, which are real nice. They're all starting to bloom, these orchids. There's a couple of different, one's a lighter purple, pinkish color, and then one's a darker purple, pinkish color. It tells me we're getting low on space, but we'll see how far we make it, ladies and gentlemen. If we don't make it any further, then I love and appreciate all of you, and thank you for being here thus far through this lesson. And we're continue now. So Atum is the all-encompassing author of eternity. We're still recording, so we're good so far. So then it talks about him being the author, weaving the fabric of reality. His creation is visible. We can see the creator. This is the purpose of his creation, so that we can see it and come to know it. Since he or it is always creating, it can always be seen. So we should think of this and marvel at this and realize that we are blessed with this ability to do this. It says with knowledge of our Father, but we are blessed with this ability with mind to contemplate the great mind or the source that is creation, or the architect of creation. It's powerful, ladies and gentlemen. So to know this being, contemplate it in thought, to come to know God, to come to align and connect with Tao and force and source, great spirit, contemplate it, constant contemplation. That's literally what this is all about. Just keep thinking, he's yelling at us. To see it with your eyes, look at the exquisite order. Okay, then he goes into the cosmos, the necessity which governs everything you perceive, the goodness of all that has been and that is coming to be. So future scrying, possibly. Look at matter filled full with life, and see Atum pulsating with which all he contains. So then it tells us to contemplate the cosmos. And like I said in the beginning, this makes me think of astrology, maybe even astrotheology. But later on, so here it gets into, because it's always referring to Atum as him. And so I'm wondering if there's a counterpoint to Atum that is the feminine, and this might be it here. When he's saying the cosmos is his ancient body, which is ever prime and new, see the planets circling in eternal time, the spiritual fire of the heavens turned light by the sun. The element of fire coming out of the Akasha, becoming the sun, coming from the world of waves into particles, from nothing to something. And this light of the sun is shed as goodness upon the world. See the ever-changing moon. This is where it gets fascinating. Because the sun and the moon are principles that represent the positive and negative, or expansive and contractive, or hot and cold, you know, all of these opposite polarities in this philosophy. So it's important here. And then he starts describing the moon. It's ever-changing to where the sun is constant. Ah, see, there's another polarity. The moon is ever-changing and the sun is constant. And so, and then he says the moon governs birth, growth, and decay. So the cycles and the processes of creation and destruction in life, in reality, and then references the constellation of the bear, which my mind was either I'm either thinking Polaris, which I don't know is a constellation of the bear. The only one I think is Ursa, but see, I'm not an astrologer, ladies and gentlemen. So if you know more about this, then please leave it in the comments, because this is helpful for all of us. And so, but he says, see the constellation of the bear, which never rises or sets. So I'm thinking of a fixed star. Stays at an ever fixed point, an axle around which the circle of the zodiac revolves. So there he's referencing astrology right out. And then he goes into comets and calling them prophet stars, for when some future fate awaits the world, they emerge for a few days from their invisible home below the circle of the sun. So there's symbology going on here. We're getting this axis that the entire wheel goes around, that is the fixed point, the sun, the ever-changing moon, we're almost getting some kind of a picture here, ladies and gentlemen. And it could be, it could be symbology for something. This is all fascinating. If you're getting value, leave me a comment, smash the like, let me know what you think. So the zodiac revolves. See the comets then being prophet stars that come from underneath the sun. And then it says, who is it that maintains such exquisite order? I thought it was also interesting that when it mentioned the sun being the most important god, yeah, here it says the sun is the greatest god in the heavens. That makes me think of sun worship throughout many cultures throughout history and the ages. And it makes me think of the important role of the sun in particularly Egyptian mystical, theological traditions, spiritual traditions. A king to whom all others pay homage. See, this is interesting. Who are the others? Because he just was talking about the moon and these prophet stars and the zodiac and the constellation of the bear and maybe even the other planets. And so these all are the others, question mark, that pay homage to the sun, the great king. Yet this mighty God, this is where it's important, makes me think of the Tao, humbly submits to have smaller stars circle above him. So this is what the Tao has been teaching a lot lately on Tuesdays, is that the great leader follows, or is humble and stays low, and does not rise up and force its power over other things so that all things draw back to it, like the ocean. It stays low, even though it is the great power. And then all the others pay homage to it by coming back to it because it is humble. And that lesson is mirrored right there in the words of Hermes Trismegistus. The sun is a king who all others pay homage to because he humbly submits to have smaller stars above him. Who is it that he obeys with awe, then, being this great king, this greatest God in the heavens? And I think he's obviously wanting us to answer Atum, of course, God, force, spirit. And who is it? Each star travels its appointed range of space. Then he goes on, why don't all stars? So he starts describing the order, nature of the cosmos. As a example, the bear revolves around herself. See, he gives the bear a feminine principle, which is interesting. And carries around with her the whole cosmos. So she carries the cosmos. And this is her task. And it's asked then, who do you think appointed her this task? Well, Atum, of course, God. Source. Grand organized design, God. So then he talks about who fixed the earth, can find the sea within its shores. Someone must be the maker and master all of this. It couldn't just happen. All order must be created. And then this is a weird line. It is only that which is out of measure. I wonder what the term measure might translate differently to. Maybe order or alignment. That which is out of line, which is accidental. So it says there are accidental things, yet even disorder is part of the laws of the universe, I guess, that is set up, that is subject to the master, it says, who has yet to impose order upon it. So if it were possible to grow wings, see, then it talks about once again flying up into the air, this astral projection of yourself to see reality in the universe from a new perspective. See, that was being talked about in both of the last lessons. Only you could fly up and join with your mind. I was trying to find that here in the previous verse, but that's just fine. That's just fine. So, does it fix the earth? Pointed. And so it gets into this astral projection thing again, seeing this beauty. If only you were able to go up and have this viewpoint poised between heaven and earth, you would then see everything. It goes the solid ground, the flowing rivers, the wandering air. See, that is one of the invisible things that you would see with your thoughts, maybe. Penetrating fire, the circling stars, and the encompassing heavens. What a joy it would be to see all this. What a marvel. Can you only imagine, ladies and gentlemen? And this was kind of in the vision of Hermes, which is a few episodes back. To perceive the unmoved mover. Those are powerful words. Borne along by one impulse, moving in all that moves. He who is hidden manifest through all his works. So then finally it ends up here talking about this idea or this correlation of us being a perfect creation in all of the craftsmanship and workmanship that goes in to the creation of a human being, all the way from different parts of our bodies to our muscles and our bones and the shape of our, hands and feet, and who separated your fingers, he says, and who made your beauty visible. So see, this is another key here. If we can see all this other beauty that is God and is Atum, and we can come to know that through contemplating it, then finally we must be able to do that for ourselves. And I would say initially, we need to do that initially. But if you can see it in yourself, then you can see it everywhere else. And if you can see it everywhere else, then you have to see it in yourself. So Wayne Dyer puts it like, if God is universal, then there is nowhere that it is not. That means that it is within the plants and the trees, and it is within you and me. Nowhere that it is not. Universal. One song. One verse, ladies and gentlemen. And it is the spaces between the notes that make the song. That's a different lesson, but important to consider. And so it talks, who made your beauty visible? So now that we know that all of creation is beautiful and to be appreciated with awe and wonder, and when we see darkness in the world, it is up to us to send light with our thoughts and hope for positivity. Because many times a great question is, okay, Chase, or spiritual dude, if everything is God and wonderful and oneness, then what is all this disaster we see in the world? And this is a great question. I believe that is one of the greatest questions for all spiritual seekers in the world, and even the spiritual masters who try to contemplate and reconcile that paradox of polarities that create a balance. And the best answer I've heard from great spiritual master is that There is a necessity for negativity, or what we would call disaster, from our perspective. See, everybody has their own perspective. And so it would be us judging reality from our limited, minute perspective to see something as a disaster, even though it may be very obvious. Like to us, an earthquake, a natural disaster that harms many people and causes destruction in the lives of many people, is a very terrible thing. And we send our hearts and our prayers and our love to all of those dealing with struggles and opportunities in this reality at this time. But with that being said, we're seeing the beauty and the wonder in all of reality. And so the simple answer I've gotten to that most ultimate confusing paradox, which all of physical reality is anyway, I'm sure if we could zoom out and be God and see all of time, a lot more things would make sense from a limited perspective in time that we are from at the moment. But simply put, the answer was there's a necessity for these things to exist in order to push the want for positivity to overtake it. So, these negative things exist in reality in order to create the balance of the want to solve the problems. If there is no problems, then there is no need to solve the problems, and there isn't a polarity and a balance and a harmony that we are learning about in this ancient, esoteric, powerful, mystical, hermetic, spiritual philosophy from ancient Egypt. Over 2,500 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe. I could be a little off with that. That's just Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu and the Tao from 2,500 years ago. But this is fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. And so, with all of that being said, statues or portraits don't just happen. So for those out there that are the arguers or the debaters that are saying, no, everything is just random chance and there is no beauty of God in reality. Statues and portraits don't just happen. And so they definitely don't happen without a sculptor or a painter. Has such a sublime work no creator? Hermes asks, and that is for us to contemplate and come to know for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Come to know for ourselves. This has been super powerful. This has been super powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Very incredible. And a profound, inspirational taste of the great philosophy and spiritual knowledge of the lost wisdom of the Pharaohs. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, the section is titled The Living Cosmos. And in this next chapter we'll be going through next Wednesday, Hermes succinctly outlines the essence of his philosophical ideas and paints the picture of the cosmos as a living being, teeming with life. Is he talking about aliens? Well, we'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. I personally don't think so, but this is just going to get deeper. I'm seeing the term cosmic mind coming up. Cosmos. This is going to be a good one. Mind and soul. Atum is light. Life force. Eternal life force. Some good stuff. Some good stuff coming up, ladies and gentlemen. And then a couple weeks from now, we'll be talking about the circle of time and the role that time plays in our reality, coming to us from the ancient wisdom of Thoth and Hermes Trismegistus, thrice greatest. And of course, Timothy Freke and Peter Gandy, the authors of this book, the Hermetica, The Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs, a Tarshir Cornerstone edition. The figure of Hermes, ladies and gentlemen, was venerated as a great mythical teacher in the ancient world. This is just a reminder, discovering the secret teachings at the heart of Western thought. The writings attributed to his hand are a time capsule of Egyptian and Greek esoteric philosophy and have influenced figures including Blake, Newton, Milton, Shelley, Shakespeare, Botticelli, and Leonardo da Vinci, and even Carl Jung. Here's the first truly accessible compendium, this is what we've been reading, of the mystical philosophy attributed to the legendary sage god, Hermes Trismegistus. Greek for thrice greatest Hermes, a combination of the Egyptian god Thoth, Tahat, and Greek Hermes. So he's a combination. The Hermetica is a fascinating introduction and has been a wonderful and fascinating introduction, ladies and gentlemen, to the intersection of the Egyptian and Hellenic cultures and the magico-religious ideas of the antique world. Interesting description there, I'll add. It is the essential and illuminating volume for anyone interested in understanding the West's roots in Egyptian and esoteric thought. Once again, from Timothy Freke and Peter Gandy, for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind so that we may increase the quality of our lives, ladies and gentlemen, because remember, through a greater awareness, we can do just that. So seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater awareness and a greater understanding of the reality that we find ourselves in. Seek to discover the mysteries of history and the wisdom of the ages. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. It's the activity that we have to bring to life through building an ability and practice. And when we can bring it to life, then the things that we've been telling ourselves, oh, I'll be happy when I'm this or there, become irrelevant because we are there. And then the entire journey is hopefully wonderful. All right, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to expand the description. Find yourselves a link to my landscape paintings. I hopefully can update more of those on the shop today. I think there's only 2 listings at the moment. Find yourself a link to the book so you can get it for yourself to put it on your shelf. And as well, find a link to C60 Purple Power, Give Yourself the Gift of Health, ladies and gentlemen, because it is the ultimate antioxidant known to man, discovered by Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fullerines, ladies and gentlemen. Which reminds me, I need to buy some more C60 gummies now. And so I really love and appreciate all of you that spend time here with me and Hermes and Thoth and Lao Tzu and Wayne Dyer and all the wonderful authors and poets of the wisdom of the ages. It means a lot to me that you would take time out of your life. And I salute all of those of you seeking after truth. And once again, it means a ton to me that you would be here trying to get this knowledge for yourself. And so thank you. Give yourself a pat on the back because we are the 1%ers, ladies and gentlemen. I heard it yesterday. We could be the phase transition. We could be the 100th monkey, the critical mass. Could be happening now. And let's hope that it is. Let's hope an awakening is taking place. And a revolution that will be beyond any revolution we have ever seen before. A spiritual revolution, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Thank you so much. I love and appreciate all of you. And we will be back next week on Tuesday Tao and Wednesday Wisdom, the lost wisdom of the Hermetica, the lost wisdom of the Pharaohs. And in between now and then, hopefully I'll make some short videos to keep us entertained, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the example that we need to set so that we can spark this spiritual revolution. And love you, ladies and gentlemen. Till next week.